Keep in mind that when we dream, we don't dream in words. We dream in images, emotions. So if your words can convey or evoke an emotion or an image, that's when you know your copy's working.
For success with your Google Ads campaigns, you don't only need to have everything right in your Google Ads account. So that's your bidding strategies, your account structure, your right keyword targeting, and great ad copy. But you also need to make sure that when they click on your ad and go to your website, that you've got compelling headlines, copy, and offers that will actually either sell your products or get those leads that you need for your business. And in most cases, when someone reaches out and says they don't see success with Google Ads, a lot of the time it's actually got more to do with their landing pages and their offer and not what is happening inside of Google Ads. And because your copywriting and your offer is so important, I wanted to get a copywriting expert on so that we could go through some real life reviews of business websites and really go through the process of how he reviews websites and how he improves them. So it's my great honor to have Will from Scale Tribe HQ on, who is a copywriting expert, and he actually has grown and sold a 7-figure copywriting agency. And the review process I'm about to take you through is how he would go through and review clients' websites and improve their copy. And most times he would see 3x sales from these strategies, which we're going to take you through. So right now, let's get straight into the live reviews and teaching. It's a great privilege to have Will here. And Will is a headline and copywriting expert. And what we're going to be doing is we're just going to do a live review of a couple of websites. And the reason for why I wanted to do this is that anyone who's watched any of my teaching in Google Ads, you know that I'm really, really big on that. For success with Google Ads, you don't only need, a good Google Ads campaign, right structures, good ad copy. What you actually need is that when they're getting to the landing page, they actually need to be a high converting landing page. And we can go through all the technicalities of what you need for a good landing page, but there's really nothing better than getting an expert to come on and give a live review of the process that he would go through when he's reviewing. And what we're going to do, we're going to start with an e-commerce brand, and then we're going to move over to a lead generation. So, hey, Will, firstly, great to have you here, and let's jump into the live review.
Awesome. Perfect. Thanks so much for having me here, Aaron. Keen to get stuck in and go through it.
Sounds great. All right. So let's jump in. We've got a screen share up through here. All right. So you can see that in there now. So we're firstly looking at an e-commerce brand, and this is an e-commerce brand which deals with personalized robes and towels. And as you can see from here, this is one of their product pages. So if you were to start working with this client, what would the process be, or where would you start about trying to get their headlines and their landing pages to convert at a higher level?
Yeah, perfect. So with copywriting and everything that we do, for me, it's 90% of thinking exercise and 10% writing exercise. So the way that I'm going to approach this is I'm going to ask some questions, pretend like I'm asking questions of the business owner, and then from the questions and answers, and we just do hypotheticals, kind of direct them in the area of what they can do for copy. So looking at this page on here, I can see the copy being personalized robes, spoil your loved ones with our toweling, micro plush and satin robes available in TMS and Sheridan brand. So straight off the bat, it's very feature heavy. So if I was shopping or I clicked on an ad for personalized robes, I may or may not know I actually don't know what terry toweling is. Micro plush and satin robes, it's fabric, I'm sure, but I'm obviously not the target audience, so I'll say that.
Terry toweling is like the furry towel robe, you know what I mean? Feels like a towel, basically. Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm definitely not the target audience, so it's great for me to talk about this one, actually. And then we say that, it's available in a TMS and Sheridan brand. So my first question for them would be, is Sheridan one of their own brands, and is TMS a well-known brand? Because front and center, that's what we talk about. And if Sheridan isn't even one of their own brands, they might want to think about changing it so that it's more about, their own business first. Sheridan is, from my knowledge, a pretty popular chain store here in Australia that sells robes, not furniture. It's like robes, accessories, all that kind of thing. So again, not target market.
And just so you know, TMS is actually the acronym for this brand, which is the Monogram Shop.
Yep. Perfect.
So you would say from there that's just too. It's just too keyword focused and just too product driven. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say it's too product driven, too features driven. I would ask them about why or who comes through and buys from them, right? I want to get into the psychology of their purchases. Are people buying this for themselves? Are people buying this as gifts for loved ones? What are the biggest reasons that people come through and actually buy from this? That's the key thing that I want to know, because we want to reference that very early on.
Okay, so that would be the first step would be really getting into who is potentially going to be interested in this product and who are you wanting to sell this product to? So then once you've got that established, what's the next step that you're doing? Is that when you start getting into writing some different headlines or ad copy? This Google Ads training video is brought to you by Define Digital Academy's newest program called On Demand. On Demand is a program where you can get private one-on-one coaching with myself or some of my other highly skilled Google Ads coaches. And to complete this program, what we also do is every month we bring on an expert in an area related to Google Ads, where somewhere where we're not talking about what's happening inside your dashboard. We're looking at all of those other key elements that you need for success with Google Ads. And one of those is making sure that you've got a compelling offer and a high converting landing page. And that's why we've got Will on here. What you're seeing in this interview is kind of the last little snippet of an hour-long masterclass that we shared, which was called Triple Your Conversion Rates with Will's Lord of the Rings copywriting process. And if you'd like to find out more about our on-demand program or how we can help you at Define Digital Academy grow your own business with Google Ads, why don't you follow that link in the description below. Right now, let's head back into the teaching.
Yeah, so after we figure out who, right? Who's very audience focused, which is where we always start. Then it's about the business focus. So I know that they've got several different types of products on here. They've got towels, they've got robes, they've got other apparel in here that they can sell. It's a really wide range. So my question is, given the range they've got, what is their best selling product? And in this case, I'm going to assume that it's actually robes. But one thing for e-commerce businesses or businesses with multiple products or service to be wary of is what you're putting on the front page the biggest driver or the biggest product that you're selling. Because I've seen this mistake where, the product isn't actually the one that makes the most profit, or it's not the one that people come into the business for the most. So make sure this is absolutely the thing that you want to highlight, especially if you've got multiple products. With that being said, assuming this is right, assuming that robes are kind of 90% or 80, if we do an 80-20, robes is the 80% of their sales. In that case, I'll then look at, okay, with all this being said and done, what are the stories behind the robes? Because people buy robes for a reason, but we don't have the reason or the emotional connection on here, right? If you can look at the copy now, it's like personalized robes, spoil your loved ones. There's not a lot of emotion behind this. So I would think about as a copy way, what kind of emotion does somebody go through, or do they feel before or after buying this, right? So spoil your loved ones is actually a really good copy on here. And I think what they're getting at is that a lot of the robes that sell are actually gifts. Yep. So I would make that front end and center. Because that is a real benefit point, right? I would even tell the story, or maybe even pull, like a 5-star thing here, and maybe even have a quote of, somebody saying, "This was the most amazing gift. My husband or wife absolutely loved this." Blah blah blah. Right. Like just having really that emotional draw behind the actual product itself.
One of the things I'm looking at there, just even thinking about as you're talking. So would that even mean? So you've always got the words there. The actual picture behind it is just a very clear, plain product image. So would you more be looking at that reinforcing, say, for example, kids giving a personalized robe to their mum or dad for Mother's Day or Father's Day to really sell, once again, the emotion above the words?
Absolutely. That would be such strong imagery. So, and you'll change your imagery depending on the season, right? So if you're coming up to Mother's Day, have an image of like, two kids having a robe, riding up to their moms, the moms being super happy about all of that. So that'll be amazing imagery. And again, I think one thing that we have to understand is that the headline on your website, it doesn't have to be permanent. Like you can change that depending on seasonality. So that's the other thing to understand. Like it's not just set, you do it once and that's it forever. You can absolutely change. So depending on the season we're going into, I would even change the headline on the website to reflect the next promotional period.
Yeah, okay. So it's really about, so you're saying that they do have some key elements there, like this spoil your loved ones, but just really bringing that out. And so if you were to be writing the headline of the ad copy, that's what you'd be focusing on, is teasing that out and actually going through how can we build more emotion around, because I guess probably what you're looking at, correct me if I'm wrong, in here, they're not actually buying a robe, they're actually buying a gift. So it's more about focusing on the gift as opposed to just buying a robe.
Yeah, so I would, if I was in the copy on this, like obviously you have to call out what it is that you do, right? We don't want to get so fancy with our copy that people are like, I don't know what this is. But I would say something like the perfect gift to spoil your loved ones and create amazing memories. And then I'll do a little bit of a features thing, maybe like the softest, plushiest, most cuddly robes on the market, or some kind of qualification of like the look, feel, and emotion of it, right? Rather than saying, hey, this is the material, it's like just describe like this is the softest on the market, this is the most comfortable, and just paint. So what I want people to do as they read copy is form either an emotion or a feeling or a picture in their mind where they go, oh, I immediately understand this. Because ultimately we think in terms of emotion, in terms of images. So I want my copy to evoke an emotion or an image that they use to communicate to themselves about this product.
Okay. Great. And so once you've got that situation, like just talk us through what's the practicality of you coming up with some ideas from different headlines and ad copy? Are you locking yourself away, or are you just, how much time are you spending on crafting some different options?
90% of my time when I'm working with clients and copy, that is what I'm doing. So I am literally, I'm very old school. So I'll show you now. I don't know if people can see this, but I'm like pen and paper. I've got massive notepads fly around everywhere. I spend probably way too much money on good fountain pens because, when traders go and buy power tools, that's the tools of the craft. Mine is fountain pens, right? This is what I spend money on. But I will lock myself away for 45 minutes at a session, but multiple sessions per day. And I'll just do nothing but just write. And the process for me is I'll set a timer for 45 minutes and my pen is not allowed to stop at any time throughout the process. And I'll just go write everything I am thinking about the product, the people, the service, everything on here onto paper. Copywriting isn't this magical thing where I am coming up with these amazing ideas, but the amazing ideas are hidden in a bunch of crap that I have to filter through myself. So that's kind of the exercise for me. So I'll just sit down and go, these robes are fluffy. These robes are amazing. Oh, we can give them for Mother's Day. These robes you can give them for anniversaries. They create memories. If you go on holidays, what a great gift to have a personalized robe that you can wear around the hotel on your holidays. I'll just go and write all this kind of stuff, all these use cases, all these emotions, and just have everything on the page to come back to and edit at a later time.
All right. So we've spoken about that for their home landing page. How does that change when we get into, let's just say, for example, an individual product page? Let's go into you use the terra because we both thinking about what that is. But so how does that change when you get into an actual individual product page? Are you still having similar, or this is where it does get more product based?
So I am still very much story based at this point. So just to give you some context, years and years ago, I worked with a wine company that sold wines online, and their product page was very similar. So this is the wine, this is where it's come from, this is the year. And so the way that we really lift the conversion rates on that is telling a story behind each and every single one of the wines. So people can relate to where it was made, the winemaker, their story, their history, and that really lifts the conversion rate. So I would actually do something very similar with this one. I would go into detail about, this is the perfect robe for XYZ. If you're looking to get something for your anniversary, this would be the best robe because it's long lasting, it's comfortable. It's not just something that it's something that you can wear every single day for many, many years, and the memories will stay with you for many, many years. So I'll anchor it back to the reason why people are buying rather than just saying, hey, this is a terry-tailing robe in charcoal.
And I'm assuming once again, then you would have a collection of, you do need to have some product-based photos, but also having in some lifestyle photos that is, I guess, conveying that message. Is that what you would do there as well?
I would actually lead with lifestyle photos and then go to product photos. And I think having both are very important. This is kind of like real estate. When you go and when people try to sell their houses, right? They've got staging equipment in there to help people see themselves in the house. Very similar concept. If we can have staging photos for the products, for lifestyle, people can see themselves getting the product or giving the product. So I would start with that and then go into, hey, land size is this, XYZ. But they've got to see themselves living in the house first before they get into the technical side of the house itself. Very similar to products. They've got to see themselves giving the product or using it before we go into, hey, this thread count is this, everything like that. Just on this page, I will also say that they've got a discount here of $79.95 to $74.95. Immediately for me, as a marketer, that's not a big enough discount to worry, I have to take this now. I'm actually not a fan of discounting premium products, but if you are going to do discounting, I put a much bigger difference in terms of pricing for this. Otherwise, it doesn't look that compelling.
So you're more really coming from the point of view of more creating the emotional and desire, so then the price becomes less relevant.
Yeah. I think when I consult and coach clients, I always like them selling on the premium side of the market with a story behind it. So if you're selling, competing on price, it's a very fast way to lose a lot of money quickly. So I always like bringing a story and telling why the product's better and positioning as a premium to it.
Great. Let's now jump on to different market, and this is obviously for a lead generation. This is ERM software, which I believe is for hospital software. So it's basically, pretty technical software. But so when we're getting into something like this, which is completely different from e-commerce, how do you approach writing ad copy for something that's, quite technical and no real sort of emotion behind it?
Yeah, this is a good one, Aaron. As I was saying previously, I used to run a marketing agency that I did for about 8 years, and a lot of our client base was B2B in software and technical products. So with this product here, my main thing is their headline here, build custom EMR software tailored to your needs. Not a very strong benefit. Like, what does the software do, right? So EMR software, with my Googling and limited time to research into this, they keep patient records. It's all about, having the patients coming through, making sure that they're taken care of. So I would talk about a pain that they might have or a need for the software itself before talking about exactly how they do what they do. So for instance, you could put something like custom EMR software so that you never miss out on a lead again, right? So that all your patient information is secure, right? I'll talk about the benefits of the system. Again, you don't want to talk about the system too much because especially in software and enterprise software here, most of the people sitting on the other side of the table, they're thinking, well, anybody can do this, right? There's 5 developers we're talking to at the moment that can build this. Why you? And you've got to show them, I understand it's not just the software itself. I understand your use case. Therefore, I can build the right tool for you. So how do you demonstrate that you understand the use case is talking about what they're actually trying to solve rather than the process of building the software.
Do you have any thoughts or do you put any viewpoints on being able to, say, for example, if they know that this has saved clients X amount of money or saved them X amount of time? I mean, do you try to bring it down to a percentage or dollar value if you can do that? Or how do you approach that?
Absolutely. That is the number one thing. So in terms of B2B sales, a lot of the things that we do is based around social proof because a lot of the objections and risks to businesses isn't just the money, right? It's not just, hey, we're going to be paying $100,000 to get this software built. Like there is a risk of that, but there's a much, much broader risk that we have to think about as we're writing copy. So the broader risk is that the software doesn't work and the system shuts down and businesses can lose millions of dollars every single day. People can get fired for this kind of stuff. So really a lot of that, it comes around trust, right? But the objection is trust. So the more that you can show, hey, we've done this in your industry, we've done this for this other company, here's the results, here's a testimonial. And if it's a well-known company within the industry, that conveys a lot of implied trust to it. So that would be, if I have that, that'll be gold. That'll go front and center directly underneath the benefit statement is, X number of companies used us or X companies saved X% by using this software.
So essentially for B2B, where it's very much for them, money is obviously a factor on it, but they're not looking necessarily for the cheapest option there because they need especially security and guarantees. Are you more trying to portray like provable objective facts that you can say these, so it's going to be a benefit. It's not just like something like what this one says, tailored to needs. It's actually more of a object fact of this is what our software does. This is what we save money. This is how much data we've protected, whatever the situation may be.
Yeah, exactly. And it is a little bit trickier to do that within a B2B context because the sales process is a little bit trickier. But ultimately, what you want to do is you want internal champions and advocates of your system to lead the sales process internally. So for the people that are going to be using this system, what do they care about or what does their life look like before and after have the system? While you can't go into the emotional side as much as, for example, BDC and gifting and things like that, you can still talk about the emotional side of not having to worry about leads dropping or things like that. You can talk about the results of the system in a way that makes life and work easier versus just the features and the hard numbers.
All right. And so we've got business owners watching and we've also got digital marketers watching. Are you able to just to sort of summarize what we sort of say? If you're dealing with like a product or a service-based product, what are the core take-home messages that you go, if you want to get better at your copywriting and you want to get better at your headlines and your hooks, this is what you need to focus on in the e-commerce space. Have you got some recommendations there?
Yep. So the number one thing I would say is the strongest skill you can have is empathy, or put yourself into the shoes of your customers, right? What's going on their lives? What are they thinking about before they click through to your website? What are their lives going to look like after they buy your product? Put yourself into their shoes, build a story of their life before and after, and just really go into like the emotional stuff. Again, keep in mind that people, when we dream, we don't dream in copy. We don't dream in words.
Yeah.
We dream in images and emotions. So if your words can convey or evoke an emotion or an image, that's when you know your copy's working. Think about your customers, put yourself in their shoes. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What are they dreaming about? Use that in your copy.
And how does that change if you're dealing in like a B2B or a lead generation type business?
So I wouldn't go away from it entirely. So in B2B, one of the first things we did with the clients I served when I was running my agency was actually painting like, what's your life look like now? what is your life going to look like after you have our service or product, right? And it might not be like super emotive. Like it depends on what you're selling. If you're selling, for example, to small business owners and you're selling marketing, of course you can be like that. Well, so business is going to grow really, really quickly. You're not going to have to do anything. There's going to be leads coming in, blah, blah, blah. For bigger businesses, it's a little bit different because you've got to think about the sales person that comes in. So again, it's putting yourself into your customer's shoes and having the empathy for them. So there is a reason why they're talking to you and deciding to get the software built. Going to the human side of things, right? Like, what do they say in the company itself that's prompting them to go, oh, I hate my job because of this element. We need a solution for this. Like, what is it that the business is feeling? But also, can you bring some data behind the losses? Can you bring some data behind the loss of productivity, the loss of revenue, the loss of opportunity? Those are going to be really important. But you've also got to understand the sales process. So who needs to approve this within the company and who's going to be the user of it? So again, it's very similar in terms of its empathy, but B2B, it's less the emotional side. It's more the logical side comes into it as well.
Yeah. So really, I guess probably in both cases, what you are really trying to do is really always have that picture of who is the key person that you're wanting to sell to, who is the key decision maker, and looking at driving messages that are going to be not just feature driven, but emotional driven towards them. All right. I'm going to finish with one last question, and this is obviously all of us and the whole industry has heard of this little thing called AI and think tools like ChatGPT. If you'd like to explain a little bit for you as a copywriter, do you use ChatGPT? And if so, how do you use it and where don't you use it?
That's such a good question. I use it extensively. I have really moved over to it, and I ask it more questions than I ask Google these days. So the way I use it is very, very contained. So to understand the limitations of it, right, is it doesn't have its own creative brain, but it thinks for the data and content you give it. So that's the biggest thing that you have to think through. So creativity, writing the actual copy itself, I don't use it at all. It's just come up with some really big bits of rubbish. So what it does do is my research process when I'm writing copy for clients is I used to spend 2 weeks every single client. I used to look at Amazon book reviews, right? What are people saying about this topic or books, and not just their own books, but competitors, books about the general market. What are people asking that's not being solved? What are they liking? What are they not liking? I used to read forums, right? So for example, I'd even used to sign up for mums forums, right? To look at what are the mums saying, what is the language they're using, how they express their frustrations. I used to also read every single publication, industry publication, white papers, all this. It used to take me weeks and weeks just to do the research itself. AI simplifies that down to like 2 or 3 hours, right? It just goes and gets all these sources for you and just puts it onto one page. Now, you do have to verify it. There is a lot of misinformation. AI can get some basic stuff wrong. It's crazy how much you can get wrong, but it also saves you, compresses that time, because sometimes you might not get the right information, but you click through to the source and the source is already here. So you don't have to find the source itself. From that point on, I'll then use that to form my thinking into the writing process itself. I don't write with AI. AI is just not up to par in terms of conversion, copy, headlines, all that kind of stuff. I've tested in the past where I gave 5 bits of headlines and go, hey, give me 20 or 30 variations. And they're all exactly the same. So it's useless for testing. But the research piece is absolutely amazing. It'll save you hours and hours of time.
So I guess essentially what you're saying there is you use ChatGPT for research, cuts in the time, but for the human connection of, which is what copywriting and headlines and hooks is all about. You're still taking control of that, but it's definitely saving you time in the research.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm very old school. I'm still pen and paper, as I was saying, right? And that's how I do it. And that's how I'm most creative, but not everyone is. But, my biggest thing is the AI, one day it could be better than I am in terms of conversion-based copy. I mean, it's getting so much data. One day it's definitely possible, but that's not today. That's not right now.
No, and I would agree with that. I mean, I know, obviously, because, this is a big thing in my industry. I listened to a 5-hour podcast of, AI developers going into it, and they still said that their consensus was that AI, even now, and they don't know when it will be at the level, is that it still doesn't know the human-to-human connection, and that humans at this stage in the game are still better at writing for that need and writing for that emotion. So, hey, Will, it's been absolutely amazing having you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge. Just for everyone watching, if you could follow down the description, I'm going to have some links of where you can get in contact with Will. So thank you so much. And thanks for sharing your knowledge. See you, Will.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. Bye.